Welcome back to Straight Facts. It's been 3 weeks. It's actually, we should have done it while I was away. I was just too busy in Doha. Back with Lee Gunner. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Not as good as you, Tel. Like you were gallivanting around Qatar, getting into media centers. That studio looked amazing. Yeah, the camera work looked amazing, by the way, as well. I don't know if you've upgraded your camera, but crystal clear, mate.
That studio that we used in the last few days, that was FIFA studio. So it was all their camera people, their equipment. Yeah, it was an absolute honor and a buzz to work in there. And like, you could shoot a 15-minute video in 15 minutes. You didn't set nothing up. You just knew what you were going to say.
In, chat, boom, and done.
Director in your ear. It was really, really good, mate. But it was a great experience.
I want to ask you, right, because I've never been to a World Cup final. Yeah, like honestly, mate, like I've never been to a World Cup. Like, what was it like being out there, being around all these people? Because like Morocco, their fans look mad. Like, and obviously living in southern Spain, there's loads of Moroccans in this part of Spain. So when they beat Spain, yeah, it was party central around here. What was it like being there with all the Argentines? Like, cause they brought nearly the whole country, I think, and so did Morocco.
Yeah, listen, the Moroccans were amazing. I think for me, one of my biggest learns through this was, and I want to make sure I word this in the right way, but how actual foreign people, like not who've lived in England for 30 years or born here, I'm talking actual, they're born abroad, live abroad, right? How they think about the English is well different. Everybody, including Argentinians, by the way, day to day, just general, pure respect. They see me in an England shirt. How you doing? Where in England are you from? Commiserations to going out. We want you to beat France. That was my first big takeaway. Like, I've been to a lot of places abroad where like being English, there's kind of like a stigma against you. Over there, whether it was Middle Eastern people, African people, other Europeans, South Americans, everybody was lovely. That was my first thought on it. But I think that was stemmed out of no alcohol. And I said it all along. No alcohol at World Cup should be a thing. Because once nobody was drunk, everybody just had actual fun. Alcohol is listen, I like a drink. I'm actually having a little bit of vodka and Coke right now. But I know I can drink.
And it's normally the other way around. I'm on a cup of tea.
But yeah, for me, I think the lack of drink meant that all the fans could mix together and it was just fun. There was no animosity. Does that make sense? And I think it was just great. There was no football hooligans. It was the first time ever at a World Cup an English fan hasn't been arrested, which is crazy. That's a crazy stat. But it was great and everyone was lovely. And like the best moment was night 1 or night 2. We're talking to a group of Ghanaians who stayed just to support Morocco. And they were like, we're here, we're supporting all the African nations left. We want all the African nations to do well. Morocco, we're gunning. I think Morocco were the only ones left by then. They went, we were staying for whatever African nations were in it, and we're backing them. And I felt what was interesting is I've got a lot of friends of mine who were from different African countries of origin here in England. But often their dislike for certain other parts of Africa is really strong. But every African person you met, and I say African because there was multiple nationalities there from one continent, they just all had each other's back. And it was just almost like it was so interesting to see how different people from those countries are compared to people that maybe were from those countries, like their grandparents might have been, they live here, or even English people think about their own selves in England. It was just a very different type of atmosphere. And that's why lived experiences and traveling, I think, is so important for the mind and for education, because you actually see what people really think and feel. Does that make sense? Not just what some popular dude on Twitter says. This is, you might say, this is what everybody in Africa, in Ghana thinks about people in Morocco, or this is what every Moroccan thinks about English people. We all get suckered in by that. What you actually have to go and do is meet people, eat with people, drink with people. It was obviously orange juice and water over there. And then you really see how people think. Does that make sense? So for me, it's such an amazing experience on a human, personal level. Very eye-opening for me, no doubt.
No, fair play to you, man. Yeah, it looked amazing, Terry. I can't lie. And the fact that not a single English fan got arrested tells you where the problem is, isn't it? I like a drink as well. But yeah, football and alcohol for English ends up in carnage. I actually see before we played Wales, there was a video doing the rounds on social media of a load of English and Welsh trying to beat each other up in Tenerife. Like it was just embarrassing, man. Like it really was. And yeah, it was good, man. It was good. And after all of the virtue signaling at the start of the tournament and all the way through it, it ended with one of the craziest finals I've ever seen in football. It was mad. And I understand you've changed your mind on the GOAT now, yeah? You've seen the light, Terence.
You have to, based on my own standards. So the one thing about me, and I know you'll admit this, I've never been detrimental about anything Messi has done. So I never said I thought Ronaldo's better and then gave you a list of things that Messi wasn't good at. It was just my preference. What Messi did at this World Cup, it wasn't just winning it. It was the fact that he was legitimately the best player at the tournament. He's changed his role, he's adapted his game, and he's scored in every single knockout round and a brace in the final.
Mm,
It's unprecedented what he did. I don't believe anyone's ever done that. So I base legends of the game, and GOATs are legends. The GOATs are the greatest legends. The first thing you look at, if you think about it as a dinner, you go out for a steak. Trophies in football is your steak. It's your steak, and he has won everything. Then what you start looking at are the important sides. So the potatoes or the fries, what's the veg like, what's the sauce like? These are very important, and they are clutch moments, consistency of performance, and your statistics that go alongside it. After that, you get the less important sides, like some mac and cheese on the side or something. Doesn't make or break the meal; it just adds to it. That for me is things like eye test and your preference of a football player. And then you have the not so important things like a bit of salad on the side. That's like your Ballon d'Ors and your awards. We know they're kind of flawed because they're very biased. That's how I assess players. You assess what they've won. Messi's won it all. When it comes to clutch moments, most goals in finals, the greatest goal scoring run in the history of the World Cup in terms of every knockout round, this guy's got it all. So he now goes to number one. And by the way, if Ronaldo's around in 4 years and does the same thing and matches it, and in that time does more, I'll change my mind again. I base it all on output as opposed to how they look. You do the same with boxing. Again, my guy's won the world title and was champion for 10 years undefeated. Your guy can't be better if he's never won a world title. That's just how, it doesn't matter how good he
yeah,
looks.
that's slightly different though, Terry, because that's an individual sport, not a team sport. Yeah,
The only,
same with
the
golf.
only,
It's individual.
the only time I look at it as different is if you're from a nation that doesn't have very much chance of winning it. So if you're the best in the world, but you're from Northern Ireland, I'll give you that pass. When you're from one of the big footballing nations and you've invariably got a good team around you, Brazil, Argentina, France, England, Spain, Portugal, you don't have that excuse, in my opinion. I think like Argentina's team's always good, generally speaking. Like if you over every decade, you'll look at two or three teams and go, that was good, that was good, that was good. So yeah, there's no excuse there. But Messi, for me, what he did was sensational. How he lifted his team, yeah, and he's rightfully crowned the GOAT. And it was, again, it was just breathtaking watching it. The atmosphere around afterwards, the aeroplane ride home, we were full of Argies on the plane, and it's just, do you know how different Doha is as well? By the way, in their airport, everyone was in there playing keepy up challenges, playing football, and they just let it happen. That's the thing about Doha, which is great. General day-to-day things you want to do, they let you crack on, mate. They let you crack
Mm.
on. Just even filming content. No one got threatened filming content. English football fans got to learn about that, bruv. Like, they just let everyone film content. No one cared. We didn't even have media passes the first 2 days, but they let us film still. They didn't care. It was great. It was great to see. But yeah, the World Cup was brilliant in the end. I think it took a little bit of time to warm up. Brilliant World Cup. Argentina deserved it. What about Mbappe? I know Mbappe's someone you don't rate, but man got a hat trick in the final and didn't
Man,
win.
he scored 4 goals, Terry, including the shootout, 3 penalties. Meanwhile, Harry Kane's penalty is still orbiting space. Like that's how you take penalties under pressure, right? And to have the cojones to stand up against one of the best keepers in the world, the best keeper in the tournament, and take it the same penalty 3 times, put it the same way 3 times, mate. Unbelievable. Like you just got to say fair play in it. Like, there's a lot of players that thrive off of being the main man. He's definitely one of them. Yeah, he's definitely one of them. Whether I put him up top, I mean, I've seen people saying he's better than Henri, and come on, turn it in. Like he's not better than Henri. Yeah, like his output
Yeah.
will end up being better. Yeah, for club and country. I mean, he's already on about 200 odd goals for club career. So I don't know. Like, listen, it was an unbelievable carry job from him for that last 40 minutes, really. Yeah, and because he was anonymous, France were anonymous for 75 minutes. But then as soon as they scored that penalty, that second goal he scored, what a goal. That was just ridiculous.
It was. And look, I think with Mbappe, he's set a base up and a foundation of his young career to challenge the GOATs that we would call them. It's interesting, really, because I see a lot of people call him I saw Aaron, and obviously I tweeted Elon Musk. He hasn't come back to me yet because I've asked for lifetime bans for anyone that calls Mbappe a pace merchant on Twitter. I think that's fair. O- Only because, only because I consider people like Theo Walcott and Adama Traore pace merchants, and I think to put Mbappe in the same sentence as those people is mad because the way he finishes alone is top class. The goal, the second goal in the semis, the skill for it was just pace merchants can't do that, and he does it so regularly. He's very different to Messi. The way Messi passes, Messi's vision, Messi's skill. Even Cristiano Ronaldo at the same age, the way Ronaldo was twining up people like Ashley Cole. I don't know how. I don't think Mbappe is even better than Ronaldo at that age. What he is better at, Ronaldo and Messi at the young age he is, he's finishing and scoring goals. And I think that's for me where I see the Henri kind of comparison. Is Henri had good skill, could dribble, great passer of the ball, but it was his ability to just continuously finish from multiple angles with ease that I think set him apart from everybody else in his era. He was so prolific, and Mbappe's got that. How good will he become? I don't know. In terms of everything he's won and achieved so far, like what a career at 23. He just needs to leave League now.
I think it's his
Go
birthday
to
today,
League.
actually. I think he's
Was he birthday
24
today?
today. Imagine being 24, already been in a World Cup final and lost, and already won one. Like, that's crazy, really. Like, that's actually mad. Like,
Yeah.
it's mad. The thing is, for me, yeah, like, obviously because it's recent, like people will obviously put him up there. But Terry, I said this the other day, and I said it with the show I just did with friends. Back in the day when Henri was like playing, like you had Ronaldinho, you had like R9, you had top players like Roberto Carlos. Like, you could list 200 players that were world class back in that era. There ain't any now, really. Let's be real with it. How many world class players are on the planet? You struggle to reel off 50. Like, real talk, and half of them are about to retire. Like Benzema's, Messi's, like players like that. They're all coming towards the end of their careers, really. And
Yeah.
it's not Mbappe's fault that he's playing in this era, of course. And one thing I'll say about him is, for somebody who I don't think is that elite, yeah, he's got an elite brain, yeah, because to take 3 penalties in a final, yeah, and take them all the same way, and let's be real here, not one person on the planet expected him to miss any of them. Yeah, whereas when Harry Kane's taken a penalty in that second one, we all thought he was missing. Like, let's be real. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
but
That
he's set his the way he has set his game. He could be a ghost for 70, 80 minutes like he was the other day, but then he thrives on that big moment. Yeah, there'll be games in France for PSG this season. He'll be a ghost all game, won't do nothing. Yeah, but then the next game he'll go and bag 4, and everyone will say he's the GOAT again. Like, and
but I think already
consistency for
I
the
think
next 10, 15 years will put him in that bracket.
but I think that's why the greats are the greats, though, because especially when we're talking about attackers, because their outputs are so measurable. If you
Mm.
actually went back and watched every minute of every game that Henri played in just for Arsenal, I guarantee you'll find loads of games where it was like, oh, he's not really been that involved or didn't do very much. But then he turned up in the 85th minute and scored the winner. Or he did something brilliant in the 25th minute, which led to a goal, and then did very little after. This is normal. I think what happened, Messi and Ronaldo broke the barometer, but they broke it in a Fugazi way. People even think that they score an assist and that the game changes in every match they play in because of the amount of goals they score, which proves they don't watch their games. Because again, Ronaldo could go to a game without scoring or two, but then get 4 or 5 in one game, and then stats read as 5 in 3 matches. Messi was the same. They both influence games and have really good moments and skills, but every footballer ever has quiet matches, but then they turn up and get a match winner. And I think that there's this kind of propensity to believe that the younger players coming through are kind of more, they ghost more and then turn up every now and then to kind of deliver, where I actually think it's always been the case. But we're now going through what we probably saw our parents do. We probably had, you probably like me had your parents talk about, oh, don't Beckham ain't that great. It was all about, let's just, it could be his era of players. So he would be talking about
Like Glenn Hoddle or someone.
Hoddle and oh, listen, he's nothing on Sir Stanley Matthews and all this sort of stuff. And this is what happens every generation. Your legends from like your childhood or your early teens that you then see play through into your 20s and 30s, when they start retiring, the youngsters are starting to big up these new ones coming through. You're like, nowhere near as good as mine. We do it with music. We do it with music. Every time when you were a kid, you started listening to a certain modern artist, and your parents, even if they're into the same genre, will be like, well, they're not that good. I remember my dad was, oh, listen to Oasis, Blur. What's that? Listen to this, it's better. And
Yeah, the
now,
Beatles.
now, yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Now we will say to our kids, what you listen to that junk for? this is proper music. We do it with footballers, we do it with music, we do it with films. You know, the kind of nostalgia was better in my day. Was it? I don't know if it really is, because what these youngsters that are now saying that will realize is in 20 years' time, they'll be saying the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. The saddest bit for us will be in 30 years when there's another superstar and everyone's ignoring how good Messi and Ronaldo were because they have no recollection of how good they were when they played. And then we'll be sitting there as old men shouting at clouds saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because whenever we speak about best French players, no one of our generation or younger ever brings up Platini. Ever. Do your research on how good he was. And suddenly, even Zidane's up for question. But it's generational in that way. But yeah, man, it's
hard to compare players in different generations as well, because it's a lot easier to play football and score goals in this era than it was in that era, because you literally get assaulted every time you get the ball in that era. Like in the 80s and late 70s, 80s, they're just kicking lumps out of each other.
And that's a fair point. But by that
and the
logic,
pitches were crap.
No, I get that. But by that logic, that means centre backs now are better because they can't do that. So that means Van Dijk's and Lisandro Martinez's and Romero's are better than the top centre backs 20 years ago because they can't kick anyone.
No. I disagree with that. Totally disagree with that. Because if you look at the caliber of striker on the planet or attacking players on the planet, and then take that back, take the top 100 attackers based on output, for example, in the last 2 years or 3 years, and then compare that to any top 100 attackers in the 90s, mate, their output's nowhere near. There's only 2 or 3 players that would outscore the players in the 90s if you take the top 100. Now, all them strikers, Terry, when we were growing up, were elite.
I get
the defenders, even though they could kick you, were still elite.
But I get what you're saying. I'll give you an example of a striker like that. Michael Owen. Elite, right? You know, he only scored 20 league goals once.
Don't matter. He won a Ballon d'Or. Ballon d'Or at what, 21 was he?
He did. But it's one of these things, from my point of view, I just look at it from this side of things. And maybe the overall quality's gone down, but I think nostalgia does that. I think it is the changing of the rules. And I don't think it means that defenders get better or worse. I think it means certain types of players emerge. Like there are probably some centre backs, if you were to get them to be honest and say, I'll give you an example of a midfielder, probably better. Graham Souness, if you got him to be honest, if he couldn't be that enforcer that he was, he probably wouldn't have played at the highest level. But his ability to basically outman anybody in a game and be the strongest guy on the pitch and rough people up took him to another level. Maybe there were footballers in that era who were better than him technically, but because that was the way football was played, their skill set and his skill set in that era outshone things. You don't need centre backs anymore that are as aggressive as they used to be.
Well, Vinnie Jones is a perfect example. Look at that cup final where they kick off against Liverpool and he just wipes the geezer out in 2 seconds.
Vinnie Jones wouldn't be a footballer in the Premier League anymore. But in that era, you needed that mentality. If your technique was slightly lacking, which it was slightly, sorry, Vinny, if you're watching, you needed the mentality. Yeah, exactly. And there's loads of elements of it that are just sort of different now compared to how they used to be. Once upon you could argue if you go back 30, 40 years, it was easier to be score goals because goalies didn't even wear gloves. And the balls were heavier, especially when it was raining. Imagine now goalies have gloves. The goalies are big anyway, but they have gloves where the ball almost sticks to it. So it's much easier to save shots now than it used to be. So I think that's the thing about the comparisons of eras. That's why, for me, what I compare is what they achieved. Because that's why trophies remains the ultimate barometer when you're in a good team and you're playing for a big nation, because everybody in the 70s was playing on a level playing field. Everybody in the 90s was on a level playing field. Everybody now is on a level playing field. So how you compare the eras is the trophies they win. Because
so you finally come around to my way of thinking that the aim of elite sport is to win the major honours then, so.
It absolutely is. But the only difference...
Yes, finally. He said it. Clip it. KJ, clip it.
I agree with you at the time. The only difference is if you're Morocco with a pound for pound was still the best team at this World Cup. Them getting to a semis was every bit as good as Argentina winning it. For
the continent, for their country individually, and for just putting the continent on the map, and everything. Yeah, I 100% agree. But ultimately, they won nothing.
No, they
didn't. Because listen, they shouldn't have got out the group, Terry. Let's be real with it.
And that's why getting to a semi-final is still an achievement to be
it's a stepping stone. But until they win something, and listen, I know loads of Moroccans around here, and they're all buzzing like they have won the World Cup. So I get what you're saying, but I do think at some point in the next 3 to 4, 5 World Cups, I do think an African country will win it. If not, maybe even an Asian country. Look at Japan, for example.
Yeah.
They beat Spain and Germany, Terry. Like, and then they shouldn't have lost on penalties. Like, it shouldn't have even got to penalties. They should have won that game, and then their penalties were trash.
Mate,
But
I completely agree. Just changing the subject slightly, giving it to the World Cup. What's your thoughts on what is your thoughts on Saltbeg? Not Salt Bay, Saltbeg. What is your thoughts on?
Saltbeg,
And just to give
Saltbeg.
a bit of context, this man here out here bothering Messi,
Look at
bothering
Messi's face.
Martinez.
Look at Martinez's face. Look at him.
And the man's even. And do you know the weirdest thing about Salt Bay? Do you know the maddest thing about this guy? All the money he's made through dropping salt on meat, he's got brown in between all his teeth. Like, I'm not being funny. No, I mean this, right? Imagine this. Imagine you become a multi-millionaire, right? Multi-millionaire for just deep this. Dropping salt on meat has made him a millionaire. I respect
And
the
then
hustle.
putting meat in men's mouths. Weird.
That's the weird bit.
Yeah, like he puts the knife in it and feeds you like you're a baby. I don't really get that.
Imagine, I don't understand why any man wants to be fed by another man. That's just not my cup of tea. If that's what tickles your pickle, then fair play to you. But from my point of view, if you've got all that money and all that success, why are your teeth brown?
Yeah, it's not the one. Maybe he's happy with life, Terry. Maybe he don't need to get his teeth whitened.
Bro, that man is smiling on camera. It's offensive. I get it from a working class person, but I've got crooked teeth. I've got crooked teeth. I am going to fix them at some point now that I'm making money as I've got older. The man's got brown teeth. He's got no right, though. I will say this about Salt Bay. It is an absolute embarrassment that he was allowed on the pitch from FIFA.
Yep.
It's an absolute atrocity that he has the ego to think he should be there. The ego to think that he has.
If you get invited onto the pitch, you're saying no, right? I'd say no. It ain't your moment.
I tweeted earlier on today. My tweet has done. When I say it's done bits, I know what it's on now. 40,000 likes. This mofo's on. 2,500 retweets. And all I said is, this is ridiculous. Shame on FIFA for allowing him to touch, kiss, and hold the World Cup. Salt Bay dropped salt on meat. What is he doing there? And that's my point. Salt Bay has absolutely zero right to be there. And there's also something I want to show to people. Now, this is official. This is taken from the official places. The FIFA World Cup trophy, as one of the most recognized sports symbols in the world and a priceless icon. It's priceless. There's no value on it. The original World Cup trophy can only be touched or held by a very select group of people, which includes former winners of the World Cup and heads of state. So literally, you've got to have won the damn thing, or you're a president or a king. Who the hell is Salt Bay? Now, someone sent me a picture of one of the Argentinians' wives or girlfriends holding it. I'm cool. Kids, wife or girlfriend,
Aguero held it.
Yeah, and again, he connected to that team. You know, if the mother of a player holds it, like you do the origins of the story, most of these guys wouldn't be footballers without their mothers and their fathers dedicating time and sacrificing. They're connected to the team. They've all in one way, shape, or form made this win possible. When you're a celebrity, whether you're Salt Bay, whether you're Gordon Ramsay, whether you're Gino D'Acampo, you've got zero right to be there. Maybe if Gordon Ramsay was the chef, and I'm using him as maybe if Salt Bay was the official chef of Argentina, then cool. Maybe if he, do you know the maddest thing about Salt Bay? This guy don't even cook the meat. He's the waiter. He's the waiter, bro. He's the waiter. He drops salt on meat, and he's out here touching and kissing the World Cup, doing the salt thing on the World Cup. This guy needs to be this. You know, I don't like canceling people, but he deserves to be cancelled for this.
Yeah, he needs to jog on.
Terrible.
Mate,
Terrible.
I put a post out on my Instagram saying, why is this weirdo on the pitch? He's a weirdo, Terry. Like, let's be real. He's weird. He is a weird character. Like, listen, I know if everyone was all the same, it'd make the world boring. I get there's got to be different characters and all of that, yeah? But the audacity to even think you should be there and then to be going and grabbing Messi. Did you see Messi's look when he grabbed him? It was like, yeah, what are you doing? But then he was smart the way he grabbed him. He grabbed him with this hand. Right. And as he pulled him round, he put his hand straight in that arm that he grabbed him with. So he kind of held his arm to put his hand. I was like, no, you're a wrong un, mate. And then Martinez just wanted to take the Martinez that plays for United, Lissandro, just wanted to take a picture, have his picture taken. And then he comes out of nowhere. It's like, mate, why is he here? Like, I would have kicked off. Like, that's not your moment, right? Like, it's not your moment. That is the Argentinian team's moment. Yeah, to celebrate with their family, yeah, and loved ones, the kids, the wives, whatever, to a nation with a stadium that was rammed full of Argentines, and you're running around trying to get Instagram pictures. Like, bro, he needs to jog on. And I'll tell you another one who needs to jog on as well is that IshowSPEED. Yeah, that guy is an absolute melt. The quicker them two disappear, and I say disappear in terms of off the internet clout chasing. Yeah, that's how I mean it before anyone takes that out of context. Yeah, the quicker they're cancelled or run out of money and disappear, the better. And I don't like cancelling people, Terry, but you've got one of them standing in the crowd with a France shirt on, ripping it off, and it's Argentina underneath. I mean, get out of here, mate. Oh, but he's only a kid. No, well, somebody needs to have a word with him then. Like, and then you've got him running around the football pitch, grabbing older players that have just won the most prestigious prize in international football, if not world football ever. Like, you've won a World Cup. How many people can say that? Like,
Yeah,
there's
I,
not many. It's a
mate,
joke.
yeah.
It's not, and for all the people in the chat saying I'm dissing a 17-year-old, I can't stand a little kid. Yeah, and the only people that rate him are 17-year-olds. Yeah,
I would say this about IshowSPEED. Like, I respect, and same with Salt Bay or whatever his real name is. Like, I respect the hustle and I respect what they've achieved and what they're doing. Some of the antics I'm starting to see from IshowSPEED, I get people find it funny, but that's because you're older. Like, I've laughed at a lot of things. When I saw him light fireworks in his house, I was laughing. So that's mad. But then I thought there are actual children watching that, and
yep.
this guy is a genuine influencer. And my worry is that more kids will try and do things like
Oh, this
that.
is the same guy that got banned on Twitch for saying something he shouldn't have said.
Mm.
Have you even seen that video where he had a woman on? He had a girl on, and he was asking her if we were the only couple of people left on the planet, would you? And she said no. He went. He then said something he shouldn't have said, and got banned off of Twitch. He's done loads of stupid shit.
I think I like elements of what IshowSPEED does. I like his hustle. I like his work rate. He can be really funny, but I think he needs guidance. And what I feel like's happening is I think a lot of older people are exploiting him and going, "Look,
Yep.
we'll give you this. We'll pay you this
Football clubs are exploiting him.
if you do this thing, right?" The whole, the way he was crying when Ronaldo went out, the snot and that. That for me, he's 17 years old. I'm not gonna shit on him because I think he needs guidance and support. I worry about the long-term mental health of somebody like that. I worry about the long-term trajectory of somebody like that. He's 17 years of age. He's young enough to be my son. If I had him at 19, 20, no, 20, sorry, 21, he's young enough to be my son in all intents and purposes. I've got a niece 5, 6 years older than him. So I do worry about some of those things, and more so like the younger kids that watching go, that's the way to be and behave. There's an element of that I worry about. There's
Oh,
element of that I worry about. He's a kid and he needs support and he needs guidance and not people exploiting him.
well, he's
I think
only a kid for another month, Terry. He's 18 next month.
no, I get that. But the problem is when you're young like that and suddenly everyone starts treating you the way he's been treated, is that you never really grow up. You create a bit of a monster, and I'm worried that could happen to him because I bet you when you scrape it back and talk to him, I actually bet there's a lovely kid there. I bet there is.
The thing is, off camera, he's probably the complete opposite. It's
Maybe,
probably all
yeah.
for camera, which is cool. Yeah, which is cool. But like I said, some of the shit that guy's done there is insane. Like,
Yeah.
insane. Like,
Young
Sky Sports banned him after getting him on there twice. They were going to get him on Soccer Saturday or something, or Super Sunday or something else, and then they banned him. They kicked him off and deleted all the videos that they put out of him after begging him to come here, there, and everywhere. Pretty much all the football clubs are just using him for clout. Yeah, because they're trying to open up to an audience in America, maybe, or a younger audience, or whatever they may do. And the problem you have when you've got people that have a massive come up, they also have a massive drop. Yeah, and him and that Salt Bay, they're going to have a massive drop at some point. Yeah,
Well,
and I think the difference between the two,
sorry.
yeah, is that kid who's nearly an adult, yeah, is probably, like you said, going to suffer mentally with it. Yeah,
He may very well do. In the same way, it reminds me, different industry. People should do some research. Younger people do some research and listen to what Mike Tyson has said about his early career compared to the latter stages. Everyone that was around him when it was going well, and the people that were left when it started to not go so well, or there was a new kid on the block. I just worry about him from that point of view. But Salt Bay, as I say, or Salt Beg, as we're calling him,
Salt Beg.
for me, he is old enough. He is old enough to understand. And I tweeted this. People said I'm jealous. I'm like, jealous of what? If I honestly, if I was invited onto that football pitch at the end, I would have gone on as a content creator to film things or maybe try and get an interview because that's actually my job. This guy's job is to carry food from the chef who's talented to the paying customer. He has no right to
Who's
be out there.
overpaying for that food by 10
Oh,
times or more? Bro, he charges 11 quid for a Red Bull or something stupid. Like,
and
people
that's
queue
one
up to pay it.
and that's one thing. And I'm not hating on his job, but the point I'm making is people call me jealous. I would do my job on that football pitch. What I wouldn't do is start grabbing those players for selfies. I mean, I'm not even a big fan of selfies in the first place. I find them a bit. I've never asked anyone of any real note for a photo or a picture. I find it weird personally. If people ask me for them, I'm like, fine. Every now and then, someone will ask and I'll do it, but I wouldn't personally do it. But to be on that pitch and then to hold it and to kiss it and to touch it, if he was Argentinian, I'd kind of get it, but
Mm.
he isn't. For me, it's cringy, it's wrong, and he's a grown ass man, and he should know better. But this is
There's
what
a
I say happens. This is what happens, Oli, when non-footballing people get involved in football. They don't understand the traditions and the processes and the right way to behave, and it just annoys me so much.
Right. And there's a lot of people in this chat that ain't got a Scooby what they're talking about, by the way. Well, how can they suffer from making money? How can he suffer? He's making money. Yeah, like you lot need to have a reality check, real talk. Yeah, these people are making a fortune. Good luck to them. Yeah, I don't stop anyone or or jealousy because people are making money. What I do have an issue with is you've got a kid standing in the executive box at Manchester United with a Manchester United legend taking the piss out of his accent. Yeah, that was disgusting. That was rude as hell. And, oh, but it's funny. He's got 800,000 people watching. Who cares? Right. And then you've got this guy running onto a football pitch with his Instagram open, grabbing hold of players on a World Cup final after they're walking around with a trophy.
This is what
It
I'm
is a
saying.
disgrace.
This is the bit that people are missing. I don't care that he was allowed on the pitch. I care that he was getting involved and gate crashing the party and the celebrations and touching the trophy. Let him on the pitch to take pictures. That's fine. That doesn't really matter. That's what people are missing. It's wrong, in my opinion. Let's go to some of these comments that have come through here. I've just learned who Salt Bay is. We're talking about a guy that cooks meat. No, he doesn't cook it, bruv. He's the waiter. He's the waiter. Big up Tel and Lee. Did you steal Messi's robe? Oh, that was the other one. People being triggered by him wearing I think it's called a bishat or something. Like, why does it matter? A bish, something like that.
Mate, I actually thought,
Sure.
yeah, real talk, right? I actually thought it was quality. Yeah, it was almost like Jesus was standing on that stage with the World Cup trophy in his hands. That's how I looked at it. Yeah,
Mate,
but
look,
again,
you know what,
these people that have had this issue virtue signaling all the way through this tournament, yeah, chatting absolute rubbish. Like there was a guy. I'm gonna find this real quick. Yeah, there was a journalist.
Laurie
Where are
Whitwell.
we?
Laurie Whitwell.
I've got it on my thing here. Here we go. Right. James Pearce. Never heard of him. Right. Longest wait for a trophy lift ever, and they did their best to ruin it. Why cover Messi's shirt up with that? Ridiculous. Glad he's now ditched it. There's then a guy called well, I can't read his name. It's all in Arabic. But underneath the at is Alna Mac. He said, I think you're just jealous that Messi looked better in it than you. He, FIFA or Argentinian FA could easily refuse, but I guess they liked it as much as you did last month when you wore it. Double standards. And then he posted the picture of the journalist wearing it last month. Like, what's going on here?
You know what's crazy about it is this. I get it was a trophy lift, but there's a few things that have been pointed out to me today. Firstly, there was a picture of Pele wearing a sombrero in 1970.
Yep.
I thought about Bayern Munich and how when they win a trophy, they all get pictures done in Lederhosen. What about the non-German players wearing traditional German garments, right? Then I thought to myself, what about things like opening ceremonies? What goddamn right did Danny Boyle in England have and Britain have to put the Queen and James Bond into an opening ceremony, making it all about Britain? Well, it is about Britain because it was in bloody Britain. This is the point. It's like, it wouldn't offend me if the next World Cup in America, Mexico and Canada, and I don't know what you'd consider like a traditional American clothing or traditional, like, I don't think, like Canadian clothing. I don't think there is anything now that's still considered traditional. But if the Mexicans wanted the person lifting the trophy to wear some type of, like, I don't know, like robe or a hat to lift it in, if that's what they insisted on, the winners could say no. But if the player who's lifting the trophy says, yeah, I'm happy to wear your hat, So what?
Right, and
Like,
let's
for
have it
me,
right
it's
here as
so
well.
mad.
Let's have it right here as well, right? The player they put that on plays for a club that Qatar own.
Mate,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right, and
It's
the way that World Cup went, from what I see, I didn't watch all of it. Yeah, I watched maybe a quarter of it, Terry. Yeah, but from what I've seen in that World Cup, it was one of the most well organized World Cups I've ever seen. Right?
bro, I was
Are
out
you
there.
telling
It was
me
well
that
organized.
at the end of that World Cup, you're telling me that they put that on Messi and Messi didn't know it was coming, or the captain Lloris for France didn't know it was coming for him, or Mbappe, if Mbappe was going to lift the trophy or whatever? Yeah, like they would have briefed them, surely.
Mate, they didn't, and Messi didn't care. And there's a lovely picture. I didn't find it. I've seen it on Getty where he's like standing there proud. He didn't care. It's the tradition, and I'm sure if you went through multiple sports, you'd see very similar things that's been done. Not every
Terry,
time,
the Olympics
lots
in
of
Greece, they
places.
put the wreaths on their head when the
Yes,
Olympics was in
yes,
Greece.
yes. There we go.
Nobody
That's
cried about that, mate.
this is it. And by the way, if it's in America next time, it will be at the finals there, and they put a cowboy hat on the winner. No one will moan. No one will moan. No one will moan. No one will moan at all. And I think for me, it was a sly dig because the belly aching and the hypocrisy in the beginning didn't come to fruition. And look, I'm not stating that they don't have issues in that country and other countries around the world to do with human rights, work issues, and things like this. All I can ever talk about is what I experienced. And one thing I was always told about the Middle East, which always put me off going, I'm not going to lie about this, was if you go with your partner, I'm quite with the person I'm with. I'm quite not clingy, but and not massive PDA guy, but I like to walk down the street and hold hands. I like when I'm waiting for a taxi, I'll give the lady I'm with a cuddle or a kiss. I'm like that. I'm just quite affectionate. I'm literally affectionate to like 3, 4 people in the whole world. My 3 kids and my partner. There's no issues with it, bruv. None.
Mm.
Me and Jess were waiting for a taxi one day, and we were kind of just like sitting there. We're holding each other's hands, just talking, quite close, just talking, nothing else. And a guy on the table behind me was like, "Excuse me, are you English?" I turned around and said, "Yeah, I am, mate." He saw the England shirt. That's how he knew, right? He said, "Oh, sorry that you went out to France." I went, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "Oh, we really want you guys to win." I said, "Oh, that's nice. Thanks." They were asking me about the place. I said, "Yeah, I'm out here with my other half." He said, "Oh," he made the joke. He went, "Have you been arrested yet?" And I laughed and said, "No." Like, no one said a word. And it's like, it was just interesting talking to people that live there. And they're kind of like, he even alluded to the fact we're not perfect. We know we've got things to improve on. But he said, "So's everyone." I'm like, "Bruv, we've got in this country tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people over the next 3 or 4 months that can't afford to pay their gas and electric bills or heat their homes. And we're condemning how other countries are run. I can't do I'm not
Think how
stating
many homeless people live in
like,
London, and
I've
that's
said
just
it before,
one city.
bruv, I've said it before, right? I can't some of the issues that are raised about other nations around the world, I care about the issue, but I can't throw stones in a glass house. I can't do it. I feel like a hypocrite, and I'll try not to ever do that. You know, Terry,
If
we
you,
all knew it, but nice of you to confirm it. Yeah, but listen, as I said before, like I just when it comes to lived experiences are better. And you can look for problems and you can look for holes and you can look for the issues with individual places. But I also went out for dinner one night and we were in so they got the West Bay in Qatar, which is when you're there, it's like you're in London or New York. You wouldn't know when you get out the car, the taxi, where in the world you are because it's new, it's modern, it's Western in terms of its look. But you go into the bars and you go into the restaurants, and I saw multiple couples canoodling, holding hands. There were some gentlemen out for dinner together, clearly a couple holding hands. You could tell like they were together, very obvious by the body language and the kissing. No one told them to stop. They didn't get arrested. I asked one guy, I said, "Oh, what's it like being out here?" And he's like, "It's been absolutely fine." We were just told, by the way, the same as like heterosexual couples, to not overdo PDAs. And that
mm,
essentially means no heavy petting in public, right? Like no touching areas you shouldn't touch, no kissing, like French kissing passionately, and beyond that. And it's like, it doesn't take a genius. When someone says be modest with it, you know what that means. And do you know what the crazy part about it is? We all need what they call a hire card. HAYYA, I think it's spelled. Do you know what hire card stands for? Hire card you need to get into the country as a visa and to buy tickets for games. But do you know what hire means in Arabic? Modest.
there
It's
you go.
they literally put it in the visas. So it's come here and enjoy the country, be modest in what you do. They didn't claim to be perfect. They didn't claim that they got everything right. But for me, It was just the way I saw people hypocrisizing themselves, moaning about it, but they stayed there for a month. And I tell you what I did love about Qatar, 40-minute Ubers cost about £4.
No
So
way,
bruv,
serious.
cheap, bruv, cheap, cheap.
Was it cheap for food and drink? Like obviously Saltbeg charges about 15 grand for a steak that's about 100 quid anywhere else. Yeah, but what was it like for food and drink and that?
So if you were in like the West Bay, that was very expensive. So like I say very expensive, like if you went out for like a nice steak, good starter, a few drinks, you're probably looking in English money about £200 to £300 for the meal. But when you're in the rest of the place, like me, KJ, and Jess went out for dinner 3 or 4 times together. Starters, mains, soft drinks, bit of shisha, and you're probably looking at total combined £45-50.
Wow,
Very cheap,
that's mad.
very cheep. Day to day, very
So,
cheap. I got
I
McDonald's.
suppose that's the same in anywhere. Like you could go around one part of London and you can go and get like that for the same price, and you go to a posher side of London and it's treble, isn't it? Like it's the same everywhere. Depends where you want to eat.
No, it's true and very, very good. But the weird things like McDonald's and stuff, I had McDonald's breakfast one morning. That was dirt cheap. But then buying like trainers, so like Nike trainers, where like a pair of Air Maxes are like 120, 130 here in England, they were like £200 there. So certain things are more expensive. Certain other things are much cheaper. So it's just where you go and what you do. But yeah, overall, treated with respect, enjoyed the country, lovely people, beautiful weather. And I'm not suggesting there aren't things that they probably would like to improve on. But yeah, it was great, you know. I had a good time, treated with respect, and I can only judge things based on how I was treated, and everything. Eds. But Jess and Terry, lads, there is hope. Bruv, I'm a cat.
I think he's trying to say you're punching. Just call him Jason Punching from now on.
But the way I look at it is this: like, if you're as successful as me and as good looking as me, there's always a chance. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that's it. Yeah, Terry Tate.
For Lee, has your opinion on Mbappe changed?
On what? Well, he scored a hat-trick in the World Cup final. Brilliant, fantastic achievement. Honestly, I don't think we'll see that again. I don't think we'll see that again. It's took how long? It's took since '66 to see it until now. No. Come back to me in 15 years when he's had the career that certain other players have had, and we'll have to debate. But I've seen, like I said earlier in the show, like to even compare him to Thierry Henry is a disgrace. I'm sorry, it is.
I get you. I get that. This Miss Jess, lucky to be Mr. Terry's wife. That's what I actually think. I think it's the other way around. People got to remember here. Thank you very much to Nick for becoming an official member of the Terrace. Really appreciate that, bro. Thank you. Big Emmy stroking his trophy. Man, how funny was it? Yeah, that was funny when he was doing what he was. Have you seen the meme of him like sort of gyrating against his trophy and then Salt Bay putting salt on it?
I didn't see it.
That's funny.
Mate, I thought it was hilarious. Like I've seen people crying about that as well. Like Martin Keown was having a meltdown on TalkSport yesterday. It was like, what are you crying for? Like you get caught in the moment. Yeah, and I think that was a big FU, and that's what he was doing. It was a big FU to all the doubters, all the haters, all the people that have said he ain't been good enough to play for Arsenal, and not good enough to go anywhere in his career. Like, let's not forget, he was playing for. He went on loan everywhere when he was at Arsenal. I think he was playing at Oxford at one point. Like,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Crazy.
It's fair play to him, man. He's won the Copa America and the World Cup inside 12 months, 15 months.
Smashed it. Chica here says, Terry, this whole blanking myth about you having to be English to manage England. National team is a load of blanking blank. Shame on Carragher. Yeah, Carragher's wrong, and I called him out for it. I like Carragher as a pundit, but he's wrong in this one. You don't need to be English to manage England. Just ask the Lionesses.
Yeah, we're Dutch manager.
Just that's it. Like, I don't think he thought that one through very much there. He doesn't need it. Hi, Terry. Who thought...
I'm just going to go toilet quickly, yeah?
No worries. Who touched the World Cup before the final match? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Write that again, Abdul. I don't know what that means to be. Salty Bay. Yeah, I like that. Salty Bay. That makes a lot of sense. Get your comments in, people. Make sure you're smashing the like and the share button for us, please. It's very important to the Terrace that you get that done. Give it a smash. Give it a smash right now. Make sure you're subscribing. Some Premier League talk coming up next on the show. We're talking Martinelli. We're talking Mudryk. We're talking the return of the Premier League as well. Gakpo to Manchester United and much more. So make sure you're smashing the like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Very important that you get that done. Get it done now, people. That's coming up next, my friend. That's what we're going to talk about. But I ain't spoke to Lee in 3. But I was meant to do shows with him while I was out there, and just never got around to honestly, I just had no time. I was so busy. It was crazy, legitimately crazy. But there we go. People have been calling me a Rizzer. What is a Rizzer? I don't understand what a Rizzer is. I keep getting people tweeting to me, "You're a Rizzer now, bro." What does Rizzer mean? I'm going to Urban Dictionary this. Is it a bad thing? I don't know what that means. Oh, it's not a nice word. There we go. I don't know. I've seen different meanings. Smash the back doors in, peeps. Smash the like button. That's what you need to do. There we go. There we go. I wanted to ask you, Lee. Obviously, the Premier League is returning. The big news about Arsenal is Martinelli is reportedly agreed to sign a new deal. How important is that for you, man?
Massive, huge, and yeah, top player, and that'd be great news if we sign him, because I think he's class, Terry, and I think that he's a massive part of our team going forward. It staves off competition for his signature, and if people do want to buy him, it's now going to cost him an absolute king's ransom. So yeah, man, I've liked him since he rocked up. I think he hit the ground running under Unai Emery, and I think he's been brilliant, man. He's been a brilliant player for us so far. And the thing I like about him is his directness. He just gets the ball, and it's like he's playing in the playground. Like, just runs. Like, I've seen him ruin Trent 2 seasons in a row. Literally ruin him. Like, when we lost to Liverpool last season, most of our players that day were trash. He weren't. He was the only one that could have got in that Liverpool team that day. And yeah, man, that's great news. Like, great news. We need to get Saka signed up as well. I see Fabrizio saying on a video the other day, Saka's contract offer, they've been negotiating since February. It's like we're nearly in January. That's nearly a whole year. What's going on here? But yeah, hopefully that news is true, because he's going to be a top player over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, he certainly is. I think he's been brilliant this year. He's getting better. It's important to get these players signed up. You know, Saliba's new deal is on the agenda, and that's going to be key because he's been so good. Saka as well. Just keeping hold of these players. And I think, as you said there, if a City or a Real Madrid does come in, at the very least, you're going to get big money for these players if they decide to go. You know, you don't want to be losing them on a free. But I think that also coincides with the Mudryk news as well, that plays in the same position as him. I mean, that deal is close. You know, the player wants Arsenal. He's been on his knees for you for weeks and months now. How are you feeling about it? I know we spoke about it a few weeks ago, but you more excited about that deal? Do you think it's going to be enough to move the needle now that Gabriel Jesus is out injured? What are you saying?
Terry, I genuinely, right, and this is going to upset all the snowflakes that don't like the truth, but I'm going to say the truth because this is my truth. I genuinely couldn't care less if we sign him or not. Like, let's like, all the people that are going to cry about it when they see this on playback or in the chat, add up how many minutes you've watched him play for, and tell me what, right? Because let's be real, Terry, the only time anyone's ever watched that kid is in Champions League football, and I'd say 90% of the time he's played in Champions League football, when it's not against a Madrid or a team like that. There's been bigger and better games on, so nobody's watching Shakhtar. Like, let's be real. Yeah, it's true. Like, people say the French league's a farmers' league. Well, what does that make that league then? Right? And we've not even put a bid in for him. Fabrizio tweeted out an hour ago saying Shakhtar director Nicolini on Mudryk. He said Mudryk has received the message, like other players, to show up in Antalya in Turkey training camp. Antalya, sorry, is that in Turkey? I think it is, on the 9th of January. Yeah, this is interest for Arsenal for him, but we have not received an official bid, is what he said. Yeah, and that's the vice director of Shakhtar saying that. So I'm not sure whether we're going to sign him. I'd rather go and sign Wilfried Zaha, if I'm honest. And that's a player that I think would get a lot cheaper because he's got 6 months left on his contract. He can play up front. Can this kid play up front? Can this kid play with his back to goal? Nobody knows. He plays in the same position as Martinelli. So, yeah, great. We need strength, and I'd like us to get strength. But is he going to be a player that's going to come in and hit the ground running? I'm not sure. I do think Wilfried Zaha would, and I think it'd cost it half the price. Maybe even less than half the price. If we wanted to get Zaha with 6 months left on a deal at just, 30 years old, we get, 2 years out of him? Just put him on a 2 with an option of a third, get him for 20 million, 100 grand a week is what roughly he's on at Palace, and just go and get him. Or you could just swap Eddie and Nketiah for him because Eddie ain't good enough. So go and swap Eddie for Zaha. Yeah, Eddie was due to be going to Crystal Palace, if you believe the reports in the summer when his contract was up, but he ended up staying. And Palace have been flirting with him for a few years, and same with us with Zaha and vice versa. So yeah, I think we should go and get him instead. Like, it's all well and good. Like, then the thing is, there's a lot of people out there that just jump on a bandwagon, Terry, right? And just like the amount of days that I do streams or videos. Oh, let's go and sign Mudryk. Let's go and sign Mudryk. Nobody watches him, Terry. Let's stop playing the game here. Like, nobody sits and watches Ukrainian football unless you are probably Ukrainian. Because you're not going to sit there your choice of all the games on a weekend and go, I know, I'm going to watch Mudryk today. You're not. So nobody knows how good he is. Nobody knows how bad he is. Nobody knows what his real strengths are other than looking at compilations that have got Pop Smoke music over him doing the rounds by teenagers, Terry. So I ain't really fussed if we sign him or not. If we sign him and he goes on to be a great player, fantastic. If we don't, I ain't going to lose any sleep over it, if I'm honest, mate. I'd rather go for somebody more tried and tested for now. Whilst we're top of the table, we need someone now. Yes, look for the future as well, but we've got our best player out injured, and we need somebody who can score goals. Eddie ain't going to do that. And if people want to bring up last season, oh, he scored at the end of the season 5 goals. Yeah, that took us from 4th to 5th. Yeah, we're top of the table. Go and get someone that can keep us there.
So barring Zaha, if you've got to go out and get a striker now, who are you going for, Lee? Like, who would you go out there to move the needle, to score the goals, or to replace what you lose? Mitrovic.
Well, I would say Ivan Toney, but I think he's in a bit of bother.
Yeah, he's just been charged. He's getting a betting scam.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be out the game for a little while. But that would be my ideal choice, is Ivan Toney. But we haven't got a player in our club that can bully a defence, yeah, and hold the ball up back to goal. I know Jesus can kind of do that, yeah, but Jesus is more of an all-round footballer rather than just a striker, if that makes sense. Yeah, he can do the back to goal here and there, but he's more deeper than that. He'll float onto the wings. Whereas if you look at the game we played against Juventus the other day, prime example, any team that we're facing this for the rest of the season, if they go and watch that game against Juventus C team the other day, that is how you play against Arsenal. Park the bus, get us to push out to the wing and cross high balls in. We can clean up all the headers. If we've got somebody like Mitrovic, like an Ivan Toney, even a Zaha, somebody that can win headers here and there, causes a problem, Terry, right? And we haven't got any player in our forward lines or attacking positions that can do that. So when we do all these nice, pretty patterns and it works, great. But we're top of the table. Teams are going to park the bus for the rest of the season when they come up against us. Yeah, so now we have to go for plan B. We ain't got a plan B. Eddie's not going to bully a centre-back. He's not going to win bullet headers at the back stick. Neither's Smith Rowe. Neither's Martinelli. Neither's Saka. Neither's Odegaard. Like, where are we getting that plan B from? Jesus can't do it either. So I feel like we need a different profile of attacker. And if it's not going to be Zaha who can play multiple positions, then go and buy Mitrovic. Yeah, he knows where the back of the net is.
Listen, I think Mitrovic is a good shout of a player that I think Prem clubs should look at. Just on Ivan Toney really quickly. So this is the official word here. The FA have informed Brentford that Ivan Toney has been charged in relation to an additional 30 breaches of FA betting rules, taking the total to 262 breaches. He has until Wednesday, the 4th of January 2023 to provide a response. If he has got 206, I mean, I don't know other people that have been done for betting. If he's got 262 breaches, this guy could be looking at a fucking lifetime ban. And you also know that they're often far worse on betting breaches than they are drug cheats. Like, Legitimately, he could be done out here for that. And
This
what's
goes back to his days at Peterborough as well, I think. I think some of this
yeah,
goes back to his but the thing is, we don't really know exactly what's happened,
no,
right? And what you've got to ask yourself as well, right? He gets picked to go into the England national team for the last warm-up game before the World Cup. Then he doesn't get picked to go to the World Cup. So did they already know about this?
Well, I think maybe the FA have probably turned around to Southgate and said, "This is what's coming. Your choice, but be mindful. You pick him and it goes wrong, and then it comes out that you know what he's going to be charged with. It's going to look bad. You just don't want that." Southgate probably just didn't want that hanging over his head. Maybe he gets charged and then he gets found innocent, but Southgate can't take that risk because he's got to protect himself as well. It's going to be interesting to see what Brentford do now.
But then if Ivan's only beat France, and then we ended up in the final.
No,
Footballers are shameless. Football managers are shameless, Terry. Football as an industry is shameless. It's got no morals whatsoever.
What's interesting to see here, club statement, or the club have released a statement. Let's see what they've said. Let's see what Brentford have said. Our private discussion with Tony and his legal representative matter continue. Ivan is what has until the fourth. Will make no further comment. Inform Brentford. So Brentford haven't decided yet whether they're going to suspend him or not either. This guy might not be able to play. Like Brentford have got to protect themselves as well. Like they've got to ask for full disclosure, what's going on, what's being said. But yeah, he looks in trouble. But I do agree. Like I think Arsenal need some players. What's your thoughts on the links to João Felix? There's been talk about that happening. Would you like to see João? Very different from a Mitrovic, but would you like to see João Felix come in?
I like that player. I do like him, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg. And I just don't see us doing it, Terry. Like that is a player that I would take in a heartbeat. But I just don't think it's going to happen. The only way that could potentially happen is on a loan. Loan him until the summer with an option or an obligation. Because then I think if you then start paying for the player, it goes on to the following financial fair play year. So I don't see us going out there and starting doing that, adding that onto this year when we've already shown a loss in money, in revenue and stuff like that. And, I think we lost 45 million in the last financial year. I don't really see how we're going to go and bust out 85 million on one player. I don't see that. And especially when we've still got Nicola Pepe on our books, by the way. It was our current record signing.
I think with Felix, you sign someone like a Felix, and I think you'll win it. You're definitely. I mean, I already think you're going to win the league, but I think someone like him almost guarantees it. You guaranteed Champions League football from this point, which is 60, 70 million. I say spend now and don't wait.
You think we're guaranteed Champions League?
Yeah. No team in the history of English football had this many points.
No, I know that. I know you're only going off of what previous is, but it's not cut and dry yet, Terry. We've had 6 weeks off of football.
Nah, you guys will be. There's no way. There's no way you don't make top four. You can't even you. Even though I know secretly you've got Mikel Arteta pajamas now. I've been told. You're reliably.
Even so have you, mate. So have you.
I've got bed sheets, everything. But I
Mikel Arteta is scared. That's the next video.
Yeah, you know for a fact that you're making the Champions League as a bare minimum.
No, Terry, listen, I've watched football for long enough to know that nothing is guaranteed until it's guaranteed. We had this same conversation when Arsenal was sat 4 points clear of Tottenham with 3 games to play. Yeah. So let's slow down here a little bit because although we have been brilliant this season, all of our players have been top drawer. We've been playing the best football. We've got the best defense along with Newcastle. 6 weeks off of football is a game changer, and it's Christmas fixtures. And I'm fuming as well, by the way, because we play on New Year's Eve. And it's a 6:30 kickoff here. So I might just hear the bells chime at midnight once I've finished doing all my videos. I'm fuming. Yeah. But again, Brighton away is not an easy game. West Ham at the Emirates, we don't know how it's going to be. How many West Ham players went to the World Cup? 2, 3? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, we looked good in a couple of the pre-season games or the pre-season or whatever you want to call it, going back into football, like Lyon and AC Milan, we blitzed both of them. Juve would look shocking. Like people say, oh, but we dominated the game. We had 2 shots on target. Like you can dominate possession all you like. You can dominate having 4 times as many passes. We didn't put the ball in the net. Oh, actually, we did twice at the wrong end. Granit Xhaka's own goal in that game, by the way. Have you seen it? Like, what a header. Like, maybe stick him up front. Like, what a goal. Like, that has got to be the best own goal I've seen for a long, long time. But Terry, I'm not going to sit here and say we're getting top 4 yet. It's 14 games. There's still 24 to go.
Yeah, I get you.
We've still got to play City twice. And our January fixtures, by the way, we've got Newcastle on the 3rd of January. Yeah, we've got Man United and Tottenham next month. That's 3 fixtures we've got to play straight away against 3 difficult teams. And it's Tottenham
Yeah.
away where we haven't won for years. So I wouldn't rule it out just yet. Like, we've not got our best player playing. The January window's not going to be open until January, obviously. Then we've got to try and get a player in, hope he hits the ground running, by which time we may have lost a few games. So all of a sudden, we could be down to 3rd or 4th by that time. No, if we don't pick up the points against West Ham and Brighton, then Man City pick up their points, they're top of the table. All of a sudden, it's a big turnaround, Terry. And like, I don't know. Their City's fixtures are mad. I can't lie. Yeah, City's fixtures are crazy. But yeah, I wouldn't be putting us in top 4 just yet, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel that you're gonna be absolutely fine. I think you'll win your next couple of games back. I just think you'll be okay. I mean, in terms of the return of the Premier League, like how do you think it's gonna go for teams in the top 6? Obviously, you mentioned Arsenal already. How do you see it going for like others? Are there any that you think are gonna really struggle? Do you think any are gonna increase their levels? Like, how do you kind of see the return going? You mentioned 6 weeks off. It might be harmful to some, but it could really help others. Like, do you see there being any big losers or big winners after this break?
I don't know. It's so difficult because we've never seen this before, Terry.
Yeah.
Like, we've never had a Winter World Cup. So I don't know. It's really difficult to predict. It really is, because the World Cup came at the wrong time for us. And now we've lost our star man. Yeah, but then there's other clubs that it came at the right time, like Man United, Tottenham, for example. Teams like that. Now they can galvanize. Ten Hag can work his magic, do what he's doing. Conte can drill it into them. Pep's not had his star striker go to a World Cup. Kevin De Bruyne came home real early. It's difficult. And then, you look at Liverpool. Liverpool, they're a weird team this season. I can't lie. I still think they could get top 4. They can go on a run. We've seen that. I don't think they're anywhere near as good as they were last season, but it's going to be very difficult. And factor in as well, Terry, Boxing Day always throws up surprise results, does every single year. And now Boxing Day fixtures, after having 6 weeks off of proper Premier League football, like, there's going to be weird results all the way through the next month or so, all the way through to the end of January. And the FA Cup's back. The EFL Cup starts tonight. So yeah, it's a bit weird, and there's going to be a lot of games coming thick and fast. And let's not forget as well the amount of injuries that happen in these cold winter months. Like, you pulled a hamstring because you haven't warmed up properly. It's freezing cold, like -4. We don't know how it's going to go, Terry. It's really difficult to predict. Listen, I hope we stay at the top of the table and we win it, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get in the top 4. Like, it could just change like that. If we lose to Tottenham United, for example, and drop points in one of the other 3 games before that, all of a sudden the table looks completely different. We've now not got our star man. The January window's open. We might not have signed anybody by the time we've played United. All of a sudden, it's not looking so rosy anymore. And that's how quick football changed. So I've seen Arsenal top of the table, 12 points clear, and not win a title. You've seen the same with United.
I understand. I do understand that, and I've seen those things happen. I've seen Newcastle clear. Everyone thinks they're going to win. They don't.
I love it if we beat them.
Yeah, Liverpool, 5 points clear with 3 games to go. They didn't win it. We have seen it, and I'm not. Look, I still think Arsenal can win and will win the league. One thing I don't believe, though, that's my point. All those teams you've said collapsed and fell away. Even though when Newcastle did it, there was no such thing as the top 4, because I think only the top 2 got into the Champions League. No one that's ever been in that position has then fallen outside the top 4. That's my point. That's why I don't believe. That's why I believe spending. That's the irony in it. That's why I believe spending some of your summer money or some of your Champions League money now is a worthwhile investment. Because if say you did go out and you bought João Felix and Mitrovic, I'm just making up some names here. 130 million you're spending, you get them both. You might win the Premier League, but you're already going to definitely get in the Champions League, meaning the money's made up. And then you've got them 6 months early. If you don't sign them and you end up finishing second, then you miss out by 3 points. That signing and spending that money early could have won you another Premier League title. And I think you're better off. Don't go outside of your plan too much. Don't go and sign players that aren't on the list, aren't on the agenda. But I look at it and think you're 5 points clear. City have been good this year. Of course they have. But they haven't had any real injury problems, and they're already 5 points behind you. I think you guys have had some issues, players missing. Look how long Zinchenko is away for. Partey's missed some
He's
games.
still out. He weren't even in the squad the other day. I don't even know where he is.
There we go. I think you'll be okay. And I think you are. But the Mudryk deal, look, I quite like him based on what I've seen. I watched 3 or 4 of his Champions League games. Yeah, the full games. Looks good. Obviously, it's more what I've read. I would say to Arsenal fans, read scouting reports that were made before he was linked to your club, not ones that are done by British press that are biased. Read ones from a year ago. This guy's highly rated. Doesn't mean he's going to come in and hit the ground running and be amazing. No, but equally, Arteta's track record in the last couple of years of signing players. When you guys signed Tomiyasu, none of you wanted him. None of you wanted him.
I don't know why everyone. I'm going to upset Arsenal fans again here. I said before. I said it on here. He's average.
Tomiyasu.
Terry.
No.
Don't even trigger me.
No.
Oh, but he can win headers. Well, I'd expect him to. He's 6'3". And because we had Hector Bellerin stinking the Emirates out every week, all of a sudden he looked amazing, didn't he? Well, where is he? Is he even back in training yet? Last time I heard, he went back to Japan. Right, and this is another thing I want to say very quickly as well. Right, Granit Xhaka, as much as I don't rate that guy, he's been our best player this season. Right, and as soon as he got kicked out the World Cup by Portugal, ended that. See you later. He came straight back. Yeah, Ben White, don't know what happened there, but he came back the other day and played. Right, Thomas Partey was playing the other day. Right, why is Tomiyasu having a break? Right, and if Saliba doesn't come back straight away, I'll be saying exactly the same about him. He played 40 minutes in the World Cup. There's no reason for you to go and have holiday. Yeah, straight back, getting training. I want to see that. Yeah, I've seen so many of these players, like for other clubs as well. Oh, they're on holiday. Yeah, they're on. What do you mean you're on holiday? You've been on holiday for 6 weeks. Yeah, it's not like you're playing a game every 3 days. Like, come on, what's the like for a whole? Come on, get in the bin. Yeah, that Tomiyasu is an average footballer. That's it. He's average. Yeah, and if people want to cry about it, cry. I've seen better right backs. Is he a right back or is he a centre back? I don't even know. I've seen so many good Arsenal right backs and centre backs, and I'm supposed to rate him. Sorry, no, ain't happening.
Yeah, listen, I don't think he's average. I don't think he's average at all. I think he's a very, very good football player. You know, I think he's a very, very, very good football player. There's no doubt about it. But is he? Again, it depends what you want in a fullback. And it's funny, really, because 2 or 3 years ago, everybody wanted marauding, attacking fullbacks. Suddenly, everyone's more inclined. Oh, I want someone that's good defensively, good at the back, because football's kind of changing again. And we went through this period where the chief creators were the fullbacks. It's going to go back to being central players soon. Then it will be wingers again, and then it will be a fullback again. And every 3 or 4 years, football changes. Remember when everybody was obsessed a few years ago with playing tiki-taka football? Like, from my standpoint, I kind of look at these things and think to myself, there's swings and roundabouts. I think Tomiyasu is a very good defender. How good is he as a technical footballer? For the elite level of the spectrum, you probably would, but yeah, good. And you could argue good is also average, right? He's good. But as a defender, I think he's top class. He's a top class defender. And I think he's going to be, he's been very good for you guys and very important to you all. But there we go. Let's do some more super chats here. When did it hit? Did you miss the weather in Qatar? Like the one
when he landed back at the airport in London.
Yeah, it was raining. Yeah, it was raining. It was raining. That's when, bro. Sam, thanks for becoming an official member. Saw you around Al Thumama Stadium. Oh, did you? Top man. Yeah, we filmed there most days. Our apartment was literally, when I say we were a stone throw away, we were a stone throw from one of the stadiums. It was great. And that's where Morocco knocked out Portugal as well, literally outside our house. It was great. Terry wants Arsenal to win the league as he doesn't want Man City to do the 3-peat. Yes, that is true. But that wouldn't make me change my opinion. So I wouldn't give an opinion based on what I want. I give an opinion based on what I think and feel. You say no one had this many points and collapsed except Arsenal before 2007-08 season. Points to 43 at Christmas and went on to finish third. Yeah, but they finished in the top 4. That's my point. Like, no one has ever not finished in the top 4 after this kind of start. That's why I say Champions League guaranteed. That means that money's guaranteed, in my opinion. Therefore, spend it now and try and win the league. That's the point I'm making, my bro. That's the point I'm making. But
I've just googled Tomiyasu, like Arsenal news and that. Mikel Arteta spoke 2 days ago and said Zinchenko continues his recovery from a calf problem. This is the same calf problem that before the World Cup started, we had an international friendly that Ivan Toney got picked for England and never came on. Right, Zinchenko wasn't going to go because he was. I think they had. I think he was suspended for that game, and it was 2 friendlies. He's not been seen since, Terry, and that was before the World Cup, right? But he was only supposed to miss them 2 games for Ukraine, right? It then continues on and says Tomiyasu is nursing a hamstring injury picked up on his. Bro, this guy's had calf and hamstring injuries since he's been here. And then he went on to Smith Rowe, has suffered a fresh setback following his surgery on his groin. Well, what's the fresh setback? Well, what's happened? Like, because apparently when he had that surgery, yeah, it was fantastic. It's all gone smoothly. So I'm saying, like, when people sit and say about our squad is so paper thin, Terry, and this is what I worry about. Like, we have to do 2, 3, 4 players in January. We have to. Like, Smith Rowe probably won't see the rest of the season. You know, Jesus, we don't know how he's going to recover from his surgery. He might not see the rest of the season. And if he does, he might be back next month. Who knows? Yeah, but we need to go and buy 3 players in January. We have to. Otherwise, I can see us slipping down that table. I really can. Yeah, and it's like the players that we're like Zinchenko, for example. If you go and have a look at his injury record on transfer market, did nobody check this before we signed him? And people wanted Tierney binned for this guy. Oh, he's always injured. Get rid of Tierney. This guy's had more injuries than Tierney's had in the same period. Like, and people want Tierney binned. But he can play in midfield, Zinchenko. Really? Okay, mate. Well, he can't because he's never fit. Same as Tomiyasu. He's barely ever fit. Smith Rowe, barely ever fit. You know, Thomas Partey, we know he can't stay fit for more than 5 or 6 games, so we're going to lose him at some point between now and the end of the season. So we need to go and get some players that can replace him. And then all you get out of Arsenal fans is, oh, but El Nenny's good. Like, come on, we need better than El Nenny. Like, let's be serious with it. Yeah, and then they get hyped up by Arsenal puppets like Charles Watts sitting there telling us we're going to sign this player, this player, this player, and this player. They hype it all up, and then, oh, Arsenal tried. And the latest statement that comes out from Arsenal, which is very smart from this football club, Terry, because they're very smart when it comes to PR. We're only going to sign a profile of player, yeah, that helps us going forward. We're not just going to go and spend on anybody. Well, that's so open-ended and so ridiculous, because what happens is at the end of the window, if we don't sign anyone, oh, well, they weren't the right profile of player. And everyone goes, oh, well, that's good. At least they ain't wasting money. Number one, it ain't your money, so why do you care? And number 2, why do you still believe all of these people? Like, the club, every single football club out there, Terry, yeah, finesses their fan base. Look at you lot with Mason Greenwood. They knew about that for months, mate, before that even came out. Months and months and months. Then they sit there and they charge stupid amounts of money to watch a friendly. They charged us $5.99 the other day to watch that AC Milan game. $5.99 for Lyon and $5.99 for Juve. But then when we want to watch the Carabao Cup game, it's not on TV against Brighton. Well, you charge me $5.99. Well, I never paid it, but my point is they will just try and finesse. And then what they've done very cleverly over the last 3 or 4 years, these football clubs, especially the top tier ones, is they've got the journalists in their back pockets finessing the narrative online. Like, and it winds me up because at the end of the day, we are top of the table. Yeah, we all know what we need. We all can see the problems with that squad. It's not good enough. Eddie is not the answer. El Neni is what he is. I don't dislike El Neni. He just knows his limitations, but he ain't going to win me a league. Thomas Partey's out for the rest of the season, for example. We're going with him for the rest of it. Well, we went with him for 8 games last season and went from 4th to 5th.
What I would say is this, though, Lee. What I will say is this. I think it's right.
For all the people saying I'm miserable, good. You live in your fantasy Disney fantasy world. I live in reality because I've seen this a million times before.
No, I look at it 2 ways. I understand that it can be a way of not spending, but equally, you should only be buying players that are part of the plan that fit because you also have to think long term, and that's why I said go out in January and spend the money for the summer now, but don't buy players that you're not really wanting just to fill a hole. I think at this moment in time.
Well,
But listen,
I agree and I disagree on that very quickly, Terry. Right?
I get you.
Because You build for the future. When's the future? The future's this season. We're top of the table, so build for now.
The future's
Yeah,
now.
why are we building for 4 years' time, hoping they're all going to come good in 4 years? Like, now, we're top of the table. Go out in January, go and get me players that are good enough for now to win me a title. You support Man United, Terry. You've seen Berbatov come to your football club, get the golden boot, and then get binned the following season and sit on the bench. And then the following season, he was sold. You can get rid of these players. You just have to be ruthless with it.
I hear what you're saying, mate. A couple of super chats here says, I get Lee's point on Mudryk. Our fans were twerking for Vlahovic, but he turned out to be a decentish at best, decent-ish at best. And our fans hate him now. And Joshua here says, you say no one's had as many points and collapse. Okay, so we've already done that one there. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But listen, people, great introduction back. We've got more content coming this week. Top 6 show on Friday in build up to the festive fixtures and return of the Premier League. We're back tomorrow and Thursday with match reactions to the big Carabao Cup games as well. Lee, always a pleasure, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, look after yourselves. Make sure you're taking care. Goodbye.
Southgate out.
God bless. And we'll